And next up at UFC Fight Night, Strickland taking on Hernandez. We've got Jacobe Smith taking on Josiah Harrell. And we're going to kick things off here talking about Jacobe Smith. Obviously originally supposed to fight on this card against Ko. Ko has a Sambo background. Smith is more of an All-American wrestler, junior college national champion. And the guy has wrestled over at Division I, obviously Northeastern Oklahoma, a great university to be training in the wrestling. And he's transitioned nicely over to MMA. Great athlete, very much a fast twitch kind of guy. And you can see he's ever improving in the striking, coming off of that submission victory that he had against Nico Price. I think that's a great name to have under your belt, regardless of whether he was a huge favorite in that fight. He had to overcome some adversity, and we want to see that from, kind of up-and-coming UFC fighters. Obviously 11-0 himself, still got that undefeated swagger, and if you look on the Dana White's Contender Series performance, it showed. He likes to do a lot of grappling. He's a big-time wrestler. He gets into dominant positions, and he looks to beat you up with ground and pound. A big fan of that here on the channel, obviously, hence the name, but I think Jacobe Smith, great athlete. I do question the gas tank, and that's why, obviously, when we look at this matchup here against Harrell, it's definitely going to be the deciding factor, in my opinion. I think Smith's wrestling is obviously very high level. He can take a lot of people down, take the back, get into dominant positions, and look to land elbows and ground and pound. But Josiah Harrell, he is a decent fighter, I have to say. A little bit undersized here in this matchup in terms of the height and reach, but for 155, he is a stocky guy. He throws one-twos down the pipe. He can definitely crack, or likes to end some combinations with head kicks as well. I do kind of question his lack of takedown defense, especially early. I've seen an interview where he talks about how in that previous fight that he had in the LFA, in his last fight, he did get taken down. He did tend to start a little bit slow in that one, and he was able to come back and ultimately get the victory. And I think that's a recipe for giving Jacobe Smith a tough time. If Jacobe Smith here can get this fight to the ground early, he can obviously do a lot of damage, especially on short notice for Harrell. You have to think that obviously that muscly, stocky build is definitely something that's going to wear if he's doing a lot of grappling. And his opponent over in the LFA, Duzmlatov, he was able to take Harrell down repeatedly early in round one and towards the start of round two. And I think if Jacobe Smith can, really just utilize his wrestling here, get on top, beat up Harrell on the ground with ground and pound, he can definitely have success, maybe find a finish. But if Smith can't get Harrell out of there early in round one or round two, I think that Harrell can definitely weather a storm here and have success in the round three. It's just whether he's beaten up a lot or whether he's still got the cardio to be able, especially on short notice, to be able to kind of hang with Smith, and he's not taking too much damage on the ground. Obviously, Jacobe Smith working on his grappling, looking for the submission now, getting his first submission victory inside of MMA against Nico Price. But Harrell is definitely a viable opponent. I wouldn't be rushing to the window to be slamming Jacobe Smith. He's definitely a rightful favorite here on a full camp. But the problem I have with this matchup here is that Harrell is a guy who can definitely weather a storm. He's a tough opponent. I definitely think that he can crack on the feet, especially with the hands. And I do think that Jacobe Smith is ever working on the boxing and the striking here, along with his cardio. So I am going to lean with Smith here. I do think Jacobe Smith gets this one done. I do like the pedigree in terms of the wrestling to be able to fall back on. I think he's definitely a guy that knows where his bread is buttered as far as, using the wrestling to get fights to the ground. My only concern here is that he plays too much in the striking and Harrell is able to catch him, or he's not able to get him out of there in the first couple of rounds and ultimately gets finished in the third due to his lack of cardio. We see it in the Nico Price fight that Smith is a very much a fast twitch athlete, and he tends to slow down. If he can just push the pace here early in round one, get him to the ground early, and ultimately find a finish, I think that's his best path to victory. If this fight kind of drags out over the course of 3 rounds, it could definitely be Harrell upset, but I am going to lean to Jacobe Smith to get this one done. I'm going to say he finds a submission maybe early in round two, or he's able to land heavy ground and pound early in round one, and ultimately get Harrell out of there. But be mindful on this one. I definitely think Harrell is a live opponent. Obviously 11-0 himself, fighting over in LFA. But I do think Jacobe Smith is going to get this one done, especially on short notice with a full camp.